Today on r/am I the a-hole? Would I be the a-hole if I don't act excited for my sister-in-law being pregnant? My sister-in-law Lisa, a 22-years-old female, told me, a 27-years-old male, and my wife Sarah, a 25-years-old female, that she was pregnant yesterday. Apparently she's 6 weeks along. I left the room when she said she was having a baby, and Sarah was saying congratulations in a neutral way. She was not screaming or crying or acting overly excited, which caused the conversation to be awkward. Now we're seeing them for Mother's Day, which at first they weren't coming to, but now they are, and I know they're going to make it all about themselves. Lisa has not seen my reaction towards her having a baby, but on Sunday I will not act excited or happy for her. Now, some backstory. Last year, Lisa announced she was pregnant at 4 weeks. She has a history of having irregular periods, and her husband Dan, a 25-years-old male, wants 7 children. However, Lisa thought she had a miscarriage. It was just her period, and began to tell everyone that she had a miscarriage. She went to the doctor, and the doctors tested her for a pregnancy hormone that is made by the body when a woman is pregnant. Test results came back, and her doctor told her she was never pregnant. Lisa does not know that Sarah and I know because my mill told us. However, Lisa uses that miscarriage as ammo for manipulating people. Lisa and her husband Dan have been nothing but horrible to me and Sarah. Lisa and Dan are extremely Christian. Not to mention they are homophobic and racist. Sarah and I got married 2 years ago, and Lisa refused to come to Sarah's wedding. Her and Dan's reasoning was, well, because the Bible says that being gay is a sin, we just can't bring ourselves to be in the presence of a gay marriage happening. It just goes against what we believe in. They also told us to our face during a heated conversation earlier this year that they do not think Sarah and I should be married. As soon as they said that to our faces, I was lost all respect for them. During that same conversation, Lisa tried to manipulate everyone into feeling sorry for her, and trying to win the conversation by screaming that she had lost her baby last year. As previously mentioned before, tests confirmed she was never pregnant. But with her being just an overall horrible person who doesn't give a damn about me and Sarah, I just feel like I am obligated to feel excited for Lisa being pregnant because my mill has begged for everyone to be nice to each other. However, Lisa's done nothing but lie, manipulate, and be hostile towards us. She will snap and yell at you if she doesn't get the reaction she wants. I am just afraid of causing some hostility or an argument on Mother's Day. But I can't in good conscience act happy for people who have treated me, Sarah, and her family so horribly. Plus, they lost all of my respect when they told Sarah and I that they don't think we should be married. Anyways, would I be the a-hole if I don't act happy and excited for Lisa and Dan being pregnant? For our next story. Am I the a-hole for spending my son's university fund on a trip to Europe to drink beer like I always threatened, instead of giving it to his stepbrother after he passed away? My son was smart. Smarter than me. I almost requested a paternity test because he was so dang intelligent. That is a joke. My ex-wife and I divorced when he was about 12. She remarried when he was 14. I did when he was 16. I had an RESP set up for him. That's an education fund in Canada. As long as he went for post-secondary education, he could use the money for anything. I always told him that I was okay with him not going to university. That way I could use the money I had saved up for him to go to Belgium and buy some beer from monks that only allow you to buy 1 case. He knew I was joking, and he always played along. He wouldn't let me get his goat. When he got accepted to McGill, it was the proudest moment of my life. I took him out for a beer to celebrate his achievement and mourn the loss of my trip to Europe. My son was struck and killed by a drunk driver in March. I'm dealing with it. My ex-wife is dealing with it. My wife has been nothing but my rock in this. She is holding me up. I was dealing with the funeral arrangements and everything when my ex-wife came to talk to me about his money. She knew he had a scholarship and was just going to use the money for living expenses and an emergency fund. She asked me what I was going to do with it. I said I was going to do what I always said I would. I was going to Europe to drink beer. She asked if she could have it for her stepson. I thought about it and said no. Her husband is a decent enough person, but he made it clear that he wasn't responsible for any expenses for my son. Beyond food and shelter and stuff, obviously. Like I said, he is decent. I said I was not going to do that. I was going to go drink beer in my son's honor. She says I'm wasting thousands of dollars. And I guess I am. I have to give back the government portion of the fund. But I don't care. My ex-wife thinks I'm being stupid and irresponsible wasting my son's money like this. I don't care. My son would laugh his ass off if he knew I actually did it. On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad there will be no making up for missing my high school graduation? I'm 18 male, graduating high school at the end of this month. My dad dropped the bomb on me 2 nights ago that his stepdaughter, 14 female, has an award ceremony for some competition she entered and won in another state on that same day, and that she really wants him to be there. He told me he couldn't possibly make it to both, and since his wife and their children together will be going, he needs to be there too. He told me he would make it up to me and we could celebrate another time. I still live with him, not for much longer. My mom died when I was 7 and my dad got married again when I was 11 or 12. It's been a few years anyway. His stepdaughter never knew her bio dad, so my dad has accepted her as his own. And he has prioritized her a lot in the last 5 to 6 years. It doesn't always show in the most obvious ways, but it can be felt. Father-son time was put on indefinite hiatus, and instead Dad told me we needed to include her in our time together, but he also spent time with just her for father-daughter time. I brought it up to my dad and he told me I wasn't exactly making an effort to be closer to her, so he wanted us all to bond and didn't want me to just focus on my relationship with him. He has attended her dance things instead of my basketball games if they're on at the same time. It doesn't matter if mine was known about first, he will still skip my stuff to go to hers. He will take us on family days, and whenever he and his wife say kids can choose, he picks her choices over mine. He claims it's because they will be the most fun for everyone, but really, he even says it afterward, anything his little princess wants. Our refrigerator and our shower broke at the same time. His stepdaughter's birthday was coming up, so he took money from my birthday fund to pay for that stuff, and so his stepdaughter would definitely get what she wanted. This Barbie house thing and a whole fashion set, and they were, I think Dad said, $250. He didn't get all the money back by the time my birthday came around, so instead he bought me a $30 gift card for Steam when he had promised me a new monitor and keyboard for my computer. That was a gift from my grandparents. When my dad told me he wouldn't be at my graduation to go and support her, I told him there is no making up for that, and he can forget about being included in my life going forward. He told me he would make it up to me, and I told him I will always come second to his little princess and I'm not going to be okay with that. I told him he has discarded me for the last time. Dad begged me to be reasonable, but I walked away. Then I invited both sets of grandparents who agreed to come. His wife told me I could have come with them and I don't need to attend the ceremony but could support my sister. I said her daughter's not my sister, and I do not want to support their family anymore, and I will be out of their hair soon. She called me selfish and told me I can't deny her daughter a dad. Let's dive into our next story. Am I the a-hole for putting a line on my brother's house and refusing to remove it until he pays me? I do house renovations as a business. Even when I do work for family and friends at a discount, I have a contract. My nephews are getting bigger and they want separate rooms. My brother asked me to help him finish his basement, make a couple of rooms down there, add a washroom, add a kitchenette, and wire up a family room. I priced it out and said I would charge him $32,000 including materials. This was a sizable discount. The bathroom alone I would charge anyone else $15,000. His wasn't even roughed in. He never paid me. He always had excuses. I paid for the material and I paid my guys for the work. We did it when I had downtime so I didn't lose out on other money, but it still sucked to get shafted. So I put a construction lien on the house. He didn't care and I wasn't going to make him homeless. That was 2 years ago. Now he got a new job and has to move. And to get a new house he has to sell his current house. Which he can't do because there is a lien against the property. He called me to get me to remove it. He promised he would pay me as soon as it sold. I told him if you pay me. My parents called me to tell me that they would pay what he owes. I said I would agree so long as he paid them back, and if he didn't, then any money he didn't pay back had to come out of any inheritance we were getting. God forbid. And that interest started accruing from the day of the loan. They agreed that that was fair. My brother called me to scream at me for involving my parents in inheritance. I reminded him that he involved them, not me. He finally took money out from a line of credit and paid me. With interest. I'm a reasonable man. The house sold over asking and the finished basement suite made a huge difference on what he got. He is still pissed at me for doing it, but I did everything legal and by the books. Our last story for today. Am I the a-hole for letting my kids disturb my husband during an important work meeting, after he said he would handle them for a day to prove how easy my job is? I'm 31 female and my husband is 36 male. We have 2 boys, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. My husband works in an office and he has the option to work a few days a week from home, but he prefers not to because he says it's easier to focus in the office. I run a small business from home. I don't have a lot of daily work, just some emails and planning, maybe 3 hours a day. But the business does make about 1/3 of our household income. But my younger son is home all day and just dealing with him takes a lot of energy. He's really high energy and will probably wreck something if you leave him alone for an hour. And then the older one comes home at 3 and both of them are with me until 8 or 9, which is when my husband usually comes home. A few days ago I was really tired and I didn't make dinner. When my husband came home I asked him if we could just order something. He was also tired and we were both short-tempered, so we ended up snapping at each other. He said I should have at least ordered before he got home and he was hungry. I said I forgot and it's not fair that food is always my problem. He said that I'm home all day and I even admit I don't have much work to do, so I'm basically a stay-at-home mom and should at least take care of dinner. I said he has no idea how much I do every day, and he said he'd handle the kids for an entire day while also working from home just to prove it should be easy for me. I said sure, so he made the arrangements to work from home yesterday. I slept in, and when I woke up, he was already frazzled from getting the older one ready for school. He ended up having to cancel a meeting to make breakfast, and was worried about that. Then when he took another meeting later on, the boys went out to play in the yard and got super muddy and left footprints all over the house, which he then had to mop, and I didn't help at all. By this point, I did feel sort of guilty because it was definitely harder for him to take care of work at the same time, but all I wanted was an apology. He said he was doing this to show that I do nothing all day, and if he just admitted he was wrong, I would have helped out straight away. Later on, he had another meeting, and he told the boys not to bother him for an hour. But about 20 minutes in, they got in an argument about something, and our younger one went into my husband's room to complain. He was really loud, and my husband's video was also on. Then he told the kid to leave him alone. But he was upset and crying and wasn't listening. After a few minutes, my husband went back to the meeting and apologized to the other people. When it was finished, he was really angry at me. He said I could see what was happening, and I just watched him struggle without helping. I said all you had to say was please help. He said I shouldn't be so petty and prideful. This probably made him look a bit stupid in front of his manager, but it was only a few minutes, and I don't think it was the huge deal he made it out to be. And those are all the stories we have for today. See you tomorrow.